Hello everyone, I'm Bruno Diniz from Fintech Talks, and I'm here with Devie Mohan. Devie is appointed was one of the top influencers in Fintech globally, and she is CEO of Burnmark. So Devie, first, can you talk a little bit about Burnmark, what you do there?
I founded Burnmark because there was a gap in the industry to find Fintech research and data and use them in a way that's useful to the company, especially large banks and enterprises. So I left my job with Thomson Reuters to launch Burnmark, and we now supply research and data into banks who want to partner with fintech startups, and we supply all the data needed to make the partnership happen.
You talked about London as being one of the hubs and the global hubs in fintech, and you mentioned some characteristics that makes London be what it is. Can you tell us about that?
I'm glad everyone thinks London is the fintech hub of the world, so that's an honor, thank you. I think there are four main things that make London the fintech hub of the world. One is banking. So in London, we have a presence of all global banks. So it's not just the UK high street banks, which are doing really well, but also European banks, Asian banks, African and American banks with a very large presence in London. The second reason is technology. So London and the United Kingdom has always had technology as a core part of the universities, the innovation labs, and of course, a wide range of startups in multiple industries. The third thing is the regulator. So the regulator, the FCA, has been very, very open and innovative towards getting more fintech startups, more challenger banks come up in the UK, and that has definitely helped London as well. And the last thing is investments. Every startup needs investment to do well until they reach a point where they are big enough to go for VC investments. And the availability of early stage seed capital also makes London a fantastic place for startups to be. So I think London is one of those few cities in the world where everything has come together to make it a fantastic fintech hub.
Nice. And you also mentioned challenger banks here and in your presentation at the conference. Can you explore a little bit more? Because in London, we have a different way for companies to apply to be a challenger bank. And you said that there are some mistakes that happen there that hopefully we don't make here in Brazil. Can you mention a little bit about that as well?
I think challenger banking is a great case study of what fintech can do well. When FCA opened up the license for challenger banks a few years ago, several fintechs applied to launch their accounts and services to the public, and we now have over 30 challenger banks in the UK. There are several more in the pipeline, so it's really, really large space just in the UK. But again, if you look at the problems, a lot of these challenger banks it's been easy for them to launch, get a license, fairly easy. Nothing is that easy compared to other parts of the world. But they have all come up with basic products, basic accounts, and I would love to see more of them launching products and offerings that are not competing with each other. Because I think what we need as customers, as me as a customer, what I would love to have is a product from a challenger bank I would never ever get from a traditional bank. So I think that is where the gap is still. And I think the FCA is looking at ways to improve innovation in the space, change the way licensing works today. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
And they are also very niched, right? Focus on, as you mentioned, and 18 years to 24 years old people, and immigrants and students, things like that. Do you think we can see any change on this scenario as well?
I think it's great that challenger banks are targeting that age group of 18 to 25, because traditional banks are very, very good at dealing with a certain type of customer, and the students and the very young people and freelancers and migrants and refugees, they always felt a little bit left out in the banking system, especially with the way credit score works and getting a new account. It was really difficult. And the same with small and medium businesses. So challenger banks came in to plug that gap, and they started targeting that group of millennial customers, starting with 18 to 25, but also some of them targeting very young students from the age of 14 or 15. and offering the products that they never had access to. So I think it's a fantastic change. And now banks are partnering with challenger banks to bring them in-house. And this is a whole new set of customers who never banked or used financial management in any way, now are doing it in a big way.
Also talking about other hubs, you also have, your family is from India, right? So you also, are you watching the scene there? What's going on in innovation in India in terms of fintech and things like that? Well, how they're moving in this space?
I think India is such a fantastic market, and we talk about London and Europe all the time, but we forget some fascinating countries like India and China, where the scale is completely different. For example, the large challenger banks have about a few hundred thousands of customers, whereas in India we're talking about 50 million customers for one challenger. So we're talking about a different scale. And the way people use WhatsApp and mobile wallets, they don't need cash, they don't need cards, credit cards or debit cards. They use existing social media, which everybody in the world uses to make their payments and transactions. So this could be WhatsApp, this could be Facebook Messenger, this could be Twitter. There are banks that accept payments via Twitter now in India. So it's a completely different world out there, and I think we need to really watch them closely and learn from them.
I think they have similar problems and challenges to tap here in Brazil as well, and I hope looking forward to see some of these benchmarks in places just like India also coming here to Brazil. So, Devie, thanks a lot for the interview, and I hope you enjoy your stay here in Brazil as well.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to my stay here for the next few days. Thank you.